This is Pastor Roger L. Green, Sr., pastor of the Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church. We're welcoming you to our worship services on Sunday morning. Sunday school begin at 8 a.m. Worship services begin at 9 a.m. Come and grow with us, a place of faith, family, and fellowship. We would love to have you. Come see us Sunday morning. We'll see you there. Be blessed.
Hey, did you know Long's Products is a family-owned janitorial supply with mops, brooms, trash bags, and they even have food service disposables, carry-out plates, and to-goes? Check us out.
Good afternoon, Central Louisiana. I'm Jack, and this is the Let's Talk show here on UrbanCast Afternoon Edition. Today's conversation is made possible by our silver sponsor, Acadian Ambulance. We appreciate their continued commitment to serving communities across Central Louisiana. This week is National EMS Week, observed May 17th through May the 23rd. This year's theme is Improving Outcomes Together. Highlights the important relationship between EMS personnel, healthcare providers, and the communities they serve every day. Today, we're being joined by Don Martin, Acadian Ambulance Central Louisiana Regional Paramedic of the Year, and Christian Dennis, Central Louisiana Operations Director. We'll be discussing EMS Week, recognizing the work of first responders, and sharing important summer safety reminders for families across our region. If you're watching live, drop your questions in the comments. We may bring them directly into the conversation. Don, Christian, I'll let you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Yeah, good afternoon. Don, go ahead.
Okay, my name's Don Martin. I work as a paramedic in DeRidder, Louisiana, and support Central Louisiana wherever they need me. I also work the critical care truck, and I help out our QI department when the time's needed to help make sure that we're policing our own and we're providing those that need help, the help they can get, and giving the accolades to those that document things well.
And I'm glad to be back on the show. So, thank you for giving us the opportunity to come back on. My name's Christian Dennis. I'm the operations manager for Acadian Ambulance here in Central Louisiana. I help run and operate all of our operations throughout, from the Mississippi border to the Texas border, the 8 parishes in between. So I like to say. So it's a pleasure to be here, and we're excited to get to the show with you.
All right, Christian, tell us a little bit about what EMS Week is, what it does, what you guys been doing this week over at Acadian, and just in overall in the whole EMS space.
Yeah, absolutely. So EMS Week is it's our favorite week of the year, to be honest with you. It gives us an opportunity to highlight the men and women and the people that dedicate their lives to emergency medical services, that are there for our communities and our community members in their worst moments. They wake up every day, put the boots on, come to work so that way they can be there and those life-threatening moments for our communities. And so this week is all about highlighting them, making sure that they are appreciated and highlighted for all the work that they do year round. We try to make sure that all of our employees and all of our team members in the EMS industry, feel appreciated on a daily basis. But this is really to highlight the life-saving work that they do and the differences that they make within the community. EMS Week is not just it's not just for dedicated EMS agencies. We've got EMTs and paramedics that work in our fire departments, EMTs and paramedics that work in our hospitals, that work all across our parishes. And we try to highlight them as well, because when we have the opportunity to during this week, and we truly talk about emergency medical services, week, and highlighting these people, we want to make sure that it's all of us. It takes all of us to make sure to take care of these communities and to really make a difference and impact in the patients' lives that we come into contact with. So just a great opportunity to highlight them and celebrate them. And we have a lot of fun with it. We cook for all of our crew members throughout the week and our fellow first responders. We do some giveaway stuff. We typically do some type of event for all of our employees that we can get together with their families. And, as much as we highlight all all of our team members and all those out there that do dedicate their lives to emergency medical services. Their families also dedicated as well, right? Listen, I wouldn't be here in the position I'm in today without my wife. I promise you that. And I know Don would tell you the same thing because they're in this thing with us as well. So we're just so thankful for everything that they do, and we just love the opportunity to get to highlight them.
This year's theme, improving outcomes together. What message does that theme send to the public?
Yeah, and it's kind of like what I touched on earlier, right? Improving outcomes together, meaning it's not just me, it's not just Don, it's not just any other EMT or paramedic or EMR that's on the street providing care for these patients. It takes a collaborative team to make a true impact across the board when you're providing emergency medical services, all the way down to our community members that are CPR trained, right? If they're CPR trained and know what to do in the time and place of a crisis, then they can start emergency medical services before we ever even get there. And so we are all in this together to make the best impact and on our community and to ensure that their safety and their health is taken care of in times of need. And so again, it's not just about one person individually. It's about all of us across EMS are working together collectively day in and day out to ensure that our communities are very well taken care of.
Wow. You talked about all of us and the importance of when somebody is offering that, just that first aid or first response kind of thing, trying to get somebody, settled and all that kind of good stuff. Just yesterday, there were a group of people that came upon a motorcycle accident over in Pineville. And many people pulled off to the side real quick, jumped out of their vehicles, ran from the gas station to go, support somebody that went down on a bicycle. And it's really important to see, just to see the public run toward that incident as opposed to, just keeping going. And I remember yesterday, PPD quickly said they wanted to thank all those people who ran toward that incident on yesterday until you guys could get there. Don, congratulations on being Central Louisiana's Regional Paramedic of the Year. What did this recognition mean to you, man?
Well, thank you. It means a lot to me. There's so many different aspects of honor, respect, duty, how you want to look at it. But just so that everyone kind of understands the process a little bit, and if I get them out of order, Christian, please correct me so that way I don't give out any bad information. We get nominated by our peers initially. They send word through email to Christian about who they want to be and their reason why. Christian compiles all those names, sends them out to all of us in the Central Louisiana district. We read through, and then we're like, email him back and say, I want to vote for EMT of the year, and then this is who I want to vote for Paramedic of the Year. Mm-hmm. So when I did my voting, I know I had at least 2 votes when I voted for myself and whoever nominated me. And then once all of those numbers are crunched together, then Christian goes ahead and puts out the email that says, this is our Central Louisiana team of EMT of the Year, Paramedic of the Year. And I think it's been about 3 or 4 years that Shelley and I are both partners, that it's been that long since another partnership has won Paramedic and EMT of the Year.
Oh, all right. I didn't realize you guys were partners.
Yes, sir. We've been partners for almost 2 years now.
Okay. All right.
When crew members work together, like Don was telling you, they've been partners for 2 years. You're almost like family. You spend 12 hours a day on a truck together. You spend more time with your partner than you do with your significant other sometimes. But Don hit it pretty dead on the process. This is a position that is selected by their peers and their fellow crew members around them because, it is important, to us to recognize those who go above and beyond and excel at what they do. And, for their peers to see that, and for us as a management team to see that, there's no one more deserving than Don here to be selected for the Regional Paramedic of the Year here for Central Louisiana.
Don, tell me a little bit about your journey. What inspired you into this field? And
I actually got started in the Army as a combat medic.
mm-hmm.
I had finished my 20 years. We were stationed here at Fort Polk, Fort Johnson, back to Fort Polk, I think now. And the wife and I were talking, my wife Sonia and I, we were speaking to each other, and we're like, do we really want to move to Tennessee? Which was our original goal. And we're like, no, we've got a lot going on with the family and my son just having a new wife and her being pregnant. And we're like, okay, we'll stay. Came on with Acadian, a little bit of a different mindset change, moving from that military mindset of, okay, I've got 17 to 58-year-olds that are relatively healthy 98% of the time, to I can have anybody that's sick for any reason, and now I have to remember all the disease processes to fix.
Uh-huh.
I got lucky that a lot of my early partners when I was an EMT were former military members that were able to help guide me and help me go in the right direction, so that way I could do good for everybody. And then I was able to get my paramedic at about the 2 or 3 year mark for being with Acadian, and I've just been plugging on since then, and then just helping those that come through. One of the things that I also help do is train some of our new onboarding employees, and the National EMS Academy instructors will send me students to help guide them in doing the right things for our patients that we come into contact with, and to make sure that if it doesn't fall in the context of a protocol, not that I'm saying protocols are bad, but we also have to look at doing what's right by our patients.
Okay.
We might have to combine 1 or 2 protocols to get them back moving toward a more healthy lifestyle.
What has kept you really committed to this whole process, being in the emergency medical services? And for people who might not realize it, we've been talking to Acadian, about the academy and going to become, an EMT and all of that kind of good stuff. So what's that typical day look like to you as well?
My typical day starts out at about 4:30 in the morning, and if we're relieving another crew, then we get from them what they've done, see if they need any help restocking the ambulance. If they're lacking in different areas, that, hey, you got dirty, we'll help you wash it real quick if that's what's needed. Excuse me. And then go through, and once everybody's happy and the night crew is headed home, we'll also get a little report of like, hey, we brought so-and-so in, they may be going home back to the nursing home, or hey, so-and-so brought this patient in with this type of problem. You may expect to transfer later, go into either Lake Charles or Alexandria or wherever they can find a placement. And then I think the one thing that keeps me going is just having the ability to have that interaction with the other healthcare providers, and just wanting to just keep helping people stay healthy, or at least if I can't do it, getting them to someone who can, that's got a little bit more knowledge, or that doctor that's got the specialty that we don't have in our local area right now. Get them there so that way they can get fixed by that specialist, and then hopefully on the mend and home as sooner than what they expected.
Christian, what qualities stand out in someone like Don that leads to a recognition like this, man?
No, yeah, that's a great question. I can't speak highly enough about Don, but when you take a look at somebody that exemplifies the leadership qualities that he does, leads by action, not by words, is consistent and accountable in the things that he does. He holds himself to a high standard, and the ones around him to a high standard as well, to ensure that, our patients and our community members are getting the care that they deserve, from clinical excellence to, the truck being washed at the end of the shift. Don comes in and he takes pride in what he does, as we all should. And that pride and the care that he puts forth into his patient care, into the way he operates and carries himself, that truly affects the ones that are around him, and causes them to do the same things. And so those qualities of being a true leader in the field, and being willing to do the things that nobody else wants to do, and being willing to have the patience and kindness and respect and consistency to bring up and raise up the others that are around him, truly speak volumes to his character. And so when we take a look at an award like this, we really look at those things, and those individual components that really define what true leadership in EMS looks like.
And EMS, the work in that area can be physically and emotionally demanding. How important is it for teamwork and support within the profession itself?
I would say it's paramount.
Agreed.
You've got to have that trust. Not only, and I'm not speaking just for Shelley and I, we trust each other. I can tell when she's having a bad day. When I walk in and see her sitting outside, I can be like, there's a problem, but we'll talk about it when she's ready. She can see when I'm having a bad day. But also, with the way EMS week is going, we also have to have trust in our fellow first responders. When those firefighters are getting in trouble or they're fighting that fire, we have to be the ones that go up and say, hey, I think you need to take a break and drink some water. When it's time to take a break and drink some water. We've got a really good rapport with our local police officers here and our sheriff's department. And they're like, if we get hurt, we want to see you. I'm like, well, I hope you don't get hurt, because it's just going to make it weird. But they also know that if we're supporting them, they're supporting us. It just makes things go better for the community. And then when we get everybody to the hospital, we've got a really good relationship with the ER staff and some of their support services with X-ray and the cath lab that's here in DeRidder. So if they say, hey, we really need this, then they pretty much know that we're just not shaking the tree to see what falls out, so to speak.
So what are some of the misconceptions people have about the EMS profession, EMS professionals as a whole, and the work that they do?
I would have to say it's the Rescue 911 TV shows. I'm not saying they're bad shows. I've watched them myself. And I have to explain to a lot of folks, what you're seeing makes for good TV, makes for good ratings.
Okay.
Not every day we're running lights and sirens and getting to the most critical patients 24/7. We do have the times where we are taking those patients from one hospital to the next one for that specialist. We are doing our part on helping out those that don't have a ride and getting them from home or the nursing home to their doctor's office visit and then back home safely. Everybody seems to think, oh, I can't deal with the blood and guts and the fast pace. It's there, but it's not as much as what they think it is. We do spend a lot of times doing public standbys, helping out for fire department calls, police department calls when they need us. And I've even been to a few football games and track meets. People are like, oh, there's an ambulance here. There must be a problem. Well, no, sometimes we're just there to make sure that if there is a problem, we can help fix
it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Christian.
No, you're good. I'm going to agree with Don there, and I think I'm just going to add on a little bit. I think one of the largest misconceptions in EMS or about the EMS profession is that, we are we pick up and we go to the hospital and we drop off and then we do it all over again. But one of the things that I want to stress, and one of the most important things about EMS in general, is that these are certified clinicians, right? Such as we are medical care need, right? We are not just throwing you in the back of a truck and hauling to the nearest hospital and dropping you off and taking care of it. These clinicians are educated and certified to do extremely advanced life-saving procedures outside of a hospital field that truly make an impact and make a difference in these patients' lives, and so, sometimes the misconception, again, is that they can't do as much as you think they can, but the truth is they can do more than anybody thinks they can. And the work that they do is so impactful to the patients that they come in contact with because of the education that they have and the work they put into it and the equipment they have at their hands, and truly can make a difference. So, sometimes if you ever call 911 and you have EMS respond and everybody wants you to run, and load them up as quick as possible, but just because we're not moving at 1,000 miles an hour doesn't mean we're not doing exactly what that patient needs at the right time to give them the best care possible. Sometimes we can be on scene a little longer because we can do the things that we know that they're going to do at the hospital before we ever get there to stabilize that patient and to make sure that they have the best outcome possible. And so I think that's one of the larger misconceptions that I want to highlight, because these guys have dedicated their entire lives to this and have the capability to truly do what makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. I want to change the subject a little bit right now and take the opportunity to talk to you guys about some water safety, hot car kind of initiatives and boating real quick. And in the pool and water safety, as these temperatures start to rise and more families are headed to the pools and lakes, what are the biggest safety concerns that you guys have from your perspectives?
I would say, first off, make sure that if you have a non-swimmer, to have a Coast Guard approved personal flotation device, life vest, whatever the terminology is that you grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
Swim in an area that's got a dedicated lifeguard. Mm-hmm. Parents and other folks, and I know how it is, I've had young kids, make sure that we're paying attention to the little ones, because they are sneaky. They will get out from behind you and get in the water, and you're like, I just took you out, it's lunchtime. Those were my boys. As soon as I turn around, they were back in the water. I'm like, come on now.
Yeah.
And just making sure that they're having fun, using the appropriate sunscreen. When it's time to take a break, let them take a break. And if there's a playground or somewhere where they can go run and burn energy, give them a little separate area to go have fun, and then bring them back to the water a little bit later.
And a lot of folk are also talking about people who are just watching out. How important do you guys believe that? I think it's called water watching or something like that. Mm-hmm. But do you think that is something that's really important, that, designating somebody to say, hey, we got the kids in the water, somebody watch them. Just keep an eye,
Absolutely.
No cell phone in their hand.
That's right. No distractions. I think it's one of the most important things that is so simple that sometimes we forget to do, because, like Don was mentioning, look, I've got 3 small kids of my own. I have 3 beautiful little girls, right? And they all love the water, right? And they get sneaky and they try to run out there and jump in the water and things along those lines. And, when you're doing summer activities and you got one in the pool and one running towards a barbecue pit and the other one that, has got to go run inside to go potty and all this other stuff, you get distracted. So you have somebody that's designated and assigned to watching the water at all times. That gives you that safety net to know to know that you have somebody that's always watching out to make sure that nobody's in trouble in the water, that nobody needs anything. There's somebody didn't get in the water that's not supposed to be in the water without their life vest. Look, even with the kids or anybody that are strong swimmers, there are still predicaments that happen, that can be really dangerous. And by having that additional set of eyes on the water at all times, you have a safety net to say, hey, I see a problem. Now I'm going to vocalize that problem, and we're going to all go in to fix it together and make sure that nothing bad happens. And, it's really about that communication. We kind of, in my own family, we have a rule, right? If my kids are out swimming, nobody goes inside unless there's in the water, unless there's an adult outside watching them, right? At all times. That is the running rule. And if that adult, or anybody needs to step back inside, then they communicate that with somebody else for somebody else to step back outside. It's safe practice. It's common practice. Make it a habit in the summertime. You just don't do it without it. It's kind of like your seatbelt, right? We preach a seatbelt all the time. When you get in the car, you put your seatbelt on. When you go do summer activities and you get in the pool and your kids are running around, always have somebody watching them. Always have somebody that's there to make sure they're okay. And that, if something were to happen, that you have somebody there to take care of it.
Let me ask you, I'm actually a two-part question here. Why should parents and caregivers really get off into CPR? And what are some of the important home pool, just basic home pool safety measures? You should, like you just said a few seconds ago, get in this pool unless an adult is out here around. What are some of the other things that you would see in that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll speak to the first one. Early CPR is the number one indicator of resuscitation in the U.S., right? The faster in the event of a crisis, in the event of a cardiac arrest, the faster that you can have a trained person doing CPR, the better the outcome is for that patient. It is the number one thing that we can do. If nothing else, CPR can make a massive difference. And the outcomes you have in patients that do experience those things. So the more people that you have trained in CPR, the more people that you have certified or have taken a course or are ready to act in those moments, the better the outcomes will be for any patient that experiences something along those lines. And to kind of address that second question, as much common practice as you can put into it, the better. Small safety things, right? Like I was telling you, my own children know, if you're outside near a pool, you don't get in the pool unless there's an adult out there, right? And we kind of preach that into them at a young age, so that way they know, that way when they're at a friend's house or they're down the road at a neighbor's house and their neighbor has a pool, well, they know I'm not getting in this pool unless there's an adult out here. Mm-hmm. Same concept goes for crossing streets, right? I mean, it sounds simple, but what do you do when you cross the street? You look both ways, right?
Right.
Well, they learn that because it's a habit, and you teach them that, and it becomes second nature. So if you start doing these things and embedding these things at a very young age or as a constant, then it's no longer a rule. It's no longer a discipline that has to happen. It's just second nature, and it comes naturally. And they're going to do that. The most important thing is it's not just they do that when you're around, it's that they do that when you're not around too. Right. And so that way they know that difference between right and wrong. Some of the other big key factors that I would recommend to any and all parents, have or do around the house. If you have a pool, if you've got, something outside that you don't want your kids to get into or whatever, we have like the little safety alarms on all of our doors because we have young kids. So if a door opens, it'll ring the safety alarm, and it's not this loud, crazy thing, but it lets us know somebody opened the door, right? Or, to keep kids out from getting into chemical cabinets or cabinets under the sink or wherever you keep your stuff at. You've got latches and things like that you can get at Walmart or whatever it may be, just to practice those safe exercises, right? Prevention is key. We want to be proactive, not reactive, right? And so by doing small proactive measures and instilling small proactive mindsets, that keeps you from having to be reactive in some of the worst moments.
Mm-hmm. And let's switch over to the hot cars, which is probably something else you guys, either you've run into or some of your colleagues have run into. You hear these tragic stories involving hot kids left in a hot car, an elderly adult, an animal left in a hot car. What reminders should parents and caregivers keep in mind?
Well, I would say, because I've got younger grandchildren, my boys are grown and out of the house now,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
but I remind them, if you're going to go inside, take them inside with you. And I could even be as blunt to say, if you leave them in the car, you will have to replace a window or two or a windshield or whatever the fire department decides to break to get your child out of the car.
mm-hmm.
Insurance may or may not pay for it, but I've always made sure that even if it's been the coolish in the morning, like we've had, low 60s, low 70s,
Mm-hmm.
that'll still get up over 200 degrees inside a car if the sun shines up. Just because it's cloudy doesn't mean it's cool. That sun will still bake in the car. You'll still start having problems with a whole host of medical problems when somebody gets overheated, whether it's a little child or an elderly patient. I'm like, I just don't want to do it, because I've run into those problems where it's like, I'm walking up to somebody's car going, I hope the supervisor doesn't come by, because I'm getting ready to break this window to get this kid out. And if I got to pay for a new window, okay, I'll pay for a new window.
And,
And that's about the same time fire shows up and does their thing.
Yeah. One of the biggest things too is that I will say to this, and I'll kind of put my 2 cents in here, is, slow down, right? One of the leading causes of things like this happening is because parents or anybody gets in such a rush that they forget. And although that sounds outlandish, it is the truth. They're going to the grocery store, or they're doing this, or they're doing that, and you got 14 different things going on at one time, and they walk into the grocery store, they get halfway through the grocery store and then realize, oh my God, my child's in the car, and so slow down, be diligent, take your time, don't get ahead of yourself, because as unfortunate as that is truly what happens. 90% of the time when you see a case where a child is left in a car, that's what happens. I forgot he was even with me. I didn't even realize because you're so focused on what's going on around you, or you're so distracted by what you have to do next, that, human error says, I forgot to grab something out of the car, and it could be tragic. And so slow down, take your time, make sure that you're paying attention to the things that you're doing, especially when it's 110 degrees outside, right? Make sure you have those things in place so that doesn't happen, So,
Christian, just as corny as it might seem, man, what are some of the simple things that people can do to try to, force themselves to say, hey, there's a baby in the car? Or,
yeah, we talked about it earlier, habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
I use my own example. I got 3 small kids. I have 3 girls under the age of 5. Every time I get out of my car, I look in the back seat, right? I do. Out of habit, because I get out of my car, I know I got to get my kids out. So I turn and I look in the back seat. And sometimes when I don't even have my kids, I'm still looking in the back seat just to make sure, I'm not forgetting something, right? So double check what you're doing to make sure that, you don't miss something, right? Always have, if you have kids that are able to get out of their own seatbelt or get out of their own car seat or whatever else that may look like, make sure that they have the ability to do so. Make sure that they know that when it stops, it should be time to get out, so they vocalize it. They say something to you, right? As much as I love my kids and they love to talk, they know when I put the car in park, they're already asking me, Daddy, can we get out? Daddy, is it time to get out now? Is it time to get out the car, right? And although that seems like them being pestering or whatever it may be, I love the fact that my kids do that, honestly. Because it's either, no, baby, we're not getting out here, or it's, yep, it's time to get out. But it tells me, hey, man, I've got the most important things in my life sitting behind me. No matter what is going on around the world, let's make sure that we get taken care of, right? So Habits and repetition is key. The simple act of turning your head to look behind you right before you get out of your car, every time you do it, can be a massive difference.
All right.
And I think one of the other things that will help with that is I've got a newer car. When I turn it off, it says, check the back seat. Even if you can make yourself a note, a sticky pad, something to put on the window to hang down that says, look in the back seat.
Mm-hmm.
Check your back seat.
That's right.
You know, that way when you put the car in park, you're getting ready to get out. And as we all reach for whatever we're getting from the center console, we'll see that sign and be like, oh, I need to look in the back seat.
That's right.
It starts building those safety habits a lot better.
Right. And you know, just and I guess as we move forward here, we're talking about the boating aspect quickly as well. The season getting ready to get uptick, and what are some of the most important safety tips people should remember when boating?
Don't drink and boat.
Don't drink and boat.
Amen.
You will get the same, or if not more, legal problems out of drinking and boating as you were drinking and driving.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not sure what the safety measures you need are, check with the local Coast Guard or the Coast Guard's website.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure the state's got something on there. I just don't know where it is right now, but make sure that you have your own safety checklist before you take your boat out to make sure that if there's a problem, you're ready for it.
And what's your guys' thoughts about how important those life jackets are, even for someone who's an experienced swimmer?
Wear them at all times. If you're on a boat and that boat is moving, you should have your life jacket on, right? And sit down. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you're running on a boat and that boat is moving, make sure you're seated if at all possible. Sit down with your life jacket on, in a safe position to where, you have the least amount of risk for something bad happening. Because especially in the boating world and on the water, it takes a split second for things to go wrong, right? You hit a swell at the wrong angle. You hit a stump in the waters, because we do live in Louisiana and we run through marshes and things along those lines. Your prop gets caught up in something. It can cause that boat to stop on a dime or to sharp turn or to whatever it may be. And all of a sudden you're spinning out the boat and you're in the water and you're going to get disoriented. You may hit your head. You may be knocked unconscious, something along those lines. And if you don't have that life jacket on, it could be extremely life threatening. So even if Michael Phelps was on a boat, I would tell him the same thing. Hey man, put your life jacket on, because you never know when something is going to happen that's going to cause you to not be able to swim anymore. Right. And so listen, just like a seatbelt, just like we don't drink and drive, just like, the most common safety measures that we talk about on a daily basis, it goes hand in hand. If you're on a boat and that boat is moving, you should have your seatbelt. You should have your life jacket on at all times.
And one of the things that I've been seeing here lately, a police report or wildlife and fisheries report came out the other day, and it says part of similar to state troopers reports when they say people should keep the seatbelts on and all of that kind of good stuff. I notice wildlife and fisheries now, going the extra mile to say, whether a person has taken a boating safety course of some sort. What's y'all's thoughts about that?
I'm a firm believer in it. I've had boating safety courses in the past. I haven't had any recently because right now I don't own a boat. Mm-hmm. But if I was going out, and I'll use Christian as the example, if he and I were going to go out on his boat, I'd want to make sure his boating safety certificate's up to snuff and that he has the safety devices that I need, because if for some reason I end up in the water instead of on the boat, and regardless of how good a swimmer I think I am, depending on how far we are, eventually I'm going to get tired.
That's right.
And I would rather have that personal flotation device on, so if I get tired, at least I can bob up and down in the water until somebody can find me instead of laying flat in the water.
That's right. And listen, you can take a safety boaters course, when you're 8 years old. I took my safety boating course at 10. I grew up on the water, lived on it, and I had my own boat at 12. I mean, you can take these courses at a very young age. And so, mom, dad, if you're going to take a course and you've got a kid that's within that age range, take them with you. Let them go with you. Let them start learning. So I'm a huge proponent in those courses, and learning them at a young age, so that way it's instilled in them, and it becomes, again, that habit, right? We get into these habits, so that way they're second nature instead of something that you have to consciously think about.
Okay. What do you guys hope everybody take away from this year's EMS week?
Biggest thing I hope most everybody takes away from is it doesn't take much to lend a helping hand. We're all in this together. Because my first experience with Acadian, I was on my way back from Lake Charles and we stopped for a motorcycle accident. I had a chance to get to know some of the ground crews and an air med crew. Yes, I was an Army medic, but I still stopped where there were a lot of people that just drove by. Okay. I still stop now, and some of my coworkers are like, stop stopping, just keep going. We don't want to see you. But if we all do our own little part, whether we have the certifications or not, and if it's something that you like, sign up for a class. We have the ability, and I can't speak for MedExpress because I don't know what their policies are, but we do have a policy where you can come do a ride along and actually experience at least 12 hours of a shift and just see what happens. Wow. And interact with us and the other departments that are out there.
Yeah, and I think the biggest takeaway that I want people to take away from this conversation is, say that when you see that your other first responders and the paramedics and EMTs out there that give and dedicate their lives to ensure that they're there in your worst moments, a little appreciation goes a long way. But know that that's exactly what they're here for. They're not here for the appreciation. They're not here to be recognized. They're not here. It's a thankless job, and they're okay with that. But they have dedicated their lives to ensuring that your loved ones and yourself are taken care of day in and day out when your worst moments come. And so as much as they operate behind the shadows, and this is a thankless job, we are so very fortunate to have them to keep our community safe. And every first responder that's in our community that wakes up every day and decides that they're going to be in emergency medical services. And so the biggest thing is I wanted to say to all of our team members and all the ones that are in our communities, thank you for what you do. Thank you for providing the care that to our communities and to our citizens that we need, and making sure that we are safe. And to highlight some of the safety practices we talked about today, that's the other biggest thing that I would want people to pay attention to, right? Make it a habit to put small safety practices into place in your everyday life so they become second nature. And, those small habits may or may not save a life one day. And it may be yours or your family's. So.
All right. If someone is watching today, guys, considering a career in EMS, what would you guys say to encourage them?
I would say do it. I'll use Shelly as the example. She'll probably get mad at me later, but I'll deal with that. Shelly made a complete career change as an older individual. She came into EMS in her mid to late 30s. She worked as a unit secretary at the hospital. I saw her studying the book on how to be an EMT, and I told her, come on. She went to class. She graduated. She's an EMT, and within 3 years, she is only one test away from becoming a paramedic. The opportunities are there. There's a nationwide shortage across the board from EMR up to paramedic. Find your way in. If you don't want to go through EMS, go through one of our sister services, try fire. There's always going to be some type of somebody needing help on the emergency medical side. We're there. You can do ride-alongs. You can call the people that do the classes and see if you could do an observation day. But if it's something you really want to do, just come on.
That's right. You know, if you put a foot in the door, we'll open the whole door for you. You know, you can go to becomemedic.com and sign up for any of our courses, or you can go to, you can go through even LinkedIn if you wanted to sign up for, to apply for a career with us. Anybody that is interested in a career with Acadian Ambulance or in the EMS industry can come on board with us with absolutely zero medical experience. We'll put you through a 7-day EMR course, get you EMR certified, which will allow you then to operate on an ambulance while we then put you through EMT school. And you can start getting that initial experience as an EMR while you go through the EMT school through the National EMS Academy and advance your career all the way to becoming a paramedic with us. And then even further into critical care paramedicine and flight medics and things along those lines. If it's something that you're looking to do and something that you are interested in, go to becomemedic.com, sign up for one of those courses. We have open houses all the time. We've got upcoming course dates and things along those lines that you can get registered for. And if you put an application in with us, one of us will reach out to you and we can answer any of the questions that you need, And so we want to provide the avenue and opportunity for people to have a very long and successful career in EMS. And we're willing to open, that door is wide open. So anybody that's interested, by all means, please, put your foot in the door and we will guide you hand in hand to make sure that you are able to have that career, whether it be with us or anybody else. We just, we pride ourselves in making sure that there's EMTs and paramedics out there in our communities that can take care of the citizens and ensure that their safety is number one, And so anybody that's interested, come on. We like Dom was saying, there's a national shortage across the board. And so if you want to have an opportunity to make massive impact and change and save lives and improve the livelihoods of the people around you, then this is the career for you. And I would highly suggest to anybody that's interested in it.
Cool. Becomemedic.com, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Don and Christian, we appreciate both of you for joining us today and sharing your experience, your knowledge, and the importance of the work of being done through Acadian. We also want to thank all EMS professionals, paramedics, EMTs, dispatchers, first responders serving the community during National EMS Week and throughout the year. To our viewers, please remember to stay safe this summer, whether around the pools, on the road, or out on the water. And as always, we want to say thank you to Acadian for your support of our community and being a part of, making sure that the community is always informed. A special thank you to our silver sponsor, Acadian Ambulance, and our business partners, Salvage Towing, Long's Products, Nader International Market, The Threadhead Embroidery, Elegance Beauty Supply, and O'Mel's Farm. We'll see you guys next time. Guys, if I forgot to ask you if you had anything else to say before we got ready to get out of here. Was it anything else that y'all needed to say?
I'm good. I just want to say thanks for having us, and we appreciate what you guys are doing on your end to help get the word out.
Okay. Yeah, and I will second that. We appreciate the opportunity anytime to come on the show, and we appreciate just the ability to get the word out on some of these important topics that can truly make an impact.
All right, man. Anytime for you guys, because you guys are helping us communicate with the community, period. So we truly appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
With that said, we'll see you guys next time. Don and Christian, if y'all could just hang tight, I'm going to end this stream. It'll be a little commercial play. And
all right.
Be right here.
this is Pastor Roger L. Green Sr., pastor of the Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church. We're welcoming you to our worship services on Sunday morning. Sunday school begin at 8 a.m. Worship services begin at 9 a.m. Come and grow with us, a place of faith, family, and fellowship. We would love to have you. Come see us Sunday morning. We'll see you there. Be blessed.
Hey, did you know Long's Products is a family-owned janitorial supply with mops, brooms, trash bags, and they even have food service disposables, carry-out plates, and to-goes? Check us out.